Have you ever tried to make a photo book and gotten completely overwhelmed trying to choose the photos? You want to share your photos in a joyful way and create a lasting keepsake you can flip through for years, but the sheer quantity of photos causes you to get lost in decision overload. What if choosing photos for a photo book could actually be simple? In this video, I'm going to share how to choose the best photos for a photo book without overthinking it. Hi, I'm Sasha Rives, a certified photo manager, and I help people overcome their photo chaos and turn their photos into meaningful, organized collections that they can enjoy more every day. Have you ever started a photo book and never finished it? Click the like button so more people can see that they are not alone. Maybe you're like one of my clients and started collecting photos to commemorate baby's first year, and life got busy. So that baby was 3 years old before you went back to look again, and now it feels like too much. Perhaps you spent the plane ride home from your last vacation thinking about how amazing the shots would be in a gorgeous coffee table book, but then you lost steam after you convinced your partner to share their photos and you realized how many duplicates there really were. If this sounds like you, tell me in the comments what occasion you've been meaning to make a photo book for. Most people don't struggle because they don't care. They struggle because they care too much. It's easy to get caught up in the emotions in your camera roll as you relive your most precious memories. You might take a few hundred or even 1,000 photos in a week. And when you have that many, it's easy to get stuck and overthink what should be included and what should be left out of your photo book. After all, you snapped each photo in your photo library because you saw something beautiful or important to you. You want to honor the photos and the moment you've captured, and it can feel impossible to pick exactly the right photos. That pressure to make it perfect is what actually stops people from finishing. A great photo book isn't about including every photo. It's about telling a story. When you pick up your photo book to flip through it in the future, you want to see the highlight reel and remember some of the details that are important to you, but not every single shot. You're not creating an archive, you're creating something people will actually look at, connect with, and enjoy. Let's talk about a few simple steps that can help you choose photos for your book like a pro. Step 1 is to start with a clear goal in mind. You want to ask yourself, what is this book for? Is it to remember a special vacation, a year in your family's life, celebrate a specific person, or even an event? Having a clear goal makes choosing photos much easier. If you're making a photo book for a 50th wedding anniversary, you want your photos to tell the story of the couple of honor or include them. You can immediately exclude anything that doesn't accomplish that goal. You will also want to consider the goal for the page length of the finished photo book to give you a target of how many photos you might use. A good rule of thumb is to include no more than 2.5 to 3 photos per page or 5 to 6 photos per spread, but you may find that you prefer designs with even fewer photos per page. This will allow some room for the eye to rest throughout your book. Of course, you won't necessarily have the same number of photos per page, but this will help you average things out to have some pages with just a couple of feature photos and others where you might have a series of smaller photos. Especially if you've got a budget constraint in mind, considering this at the start will save you tons of time and effort before you dive into the next step and minimize the chance that you need to cull entire pages that you've already designed later in the process. You can calculate how many pages you realistically want to invest in and then do the math to get a target number of photos to narrow down to. For example, a photo book with 50 pages might include up to 125, even 150 images. Even if budget is not a concern, you'll want to consider the maximum page length of the photo book product you're going to use, as most companies have a limit to how many pages can be bound in a certain type of book. Step 2 is to do a quick first pass with the number you calculated in step 1 in mind. This can be helpful to your mindset if you know you have double or triple the amount of photos from the occasion you want to use. You will immediately be thinking about it in a different way if you know how dramatically you need to cull things. Another tip is to do this first pass on the largest screen you have access to. This will help you catch some of the obvious issues with photos you may not want to include, like a blurry shot, eyes closed, or someone's head turned away compared to another shot. That said, don't let perfectionism slow you down. If you need to do this first pass on your phone by making a quick album in your photo library, that's a great way to start, and you can always review them on a larger screen during the next narrowing phase. When I do this pass, I like to include instead of exclude. What I mean by that is I might be working from an album that contains all of the photos from an event or for the theme of the photo book, and I'll select what I want to include and add it to a new album instead of trying to remove them from the existing album. Don't overthink it, just pick the ones that stand out right away. If you do this, you'll usually find that you select less. And when you open the new album to review, you've got enough to tell the story, and you won't miss what you've already skipped in this first pass. Step 3 is to narrow it down further. You'll want to go back and reduce your selection more if you've still got more than your target number of photos for the book. You don't need 5 versions of the same moment. Choose the best one. It may be helpful to view similar photos side by side to see if one is obviously better. When you're deciding on what is considered better, remember that some of that is subjective. You get to decide if a photo captures the emotion or feelings you want to convey in your photo book. Is there an action sequence or a series of facial expressions that is better captured with 3 to 5 photos? Sometimes culling down too much is not the answer for a specific moment. Layouts with these repeated photos showing a stop frame animation effect through the moment can be really powerful, like a baby learning to make new expressions or a group of kids jumping into the pool. Sometimes a slightly blurry photo captures more of the action or an expression you want to preserve, and that's okay. It's your photo book and your memories. So every photo doesn't have to be technically perfect because life isn't either. When you're choosing your photos for a photo book, the last step is to review the story. A good one has a beginning, middle, and end. If you've got your collection set aside in its own folder or album, flip through the photos and review whether you're missing a part of the story. You may also consider if there is a part or a section of the story with more photos than the others. Perhaps one section needs to be culled further in comparison, or another needs to be beefed up. You want to include a mix of people, details, and moments. If it's helpful, think of the 5 W's. Have you included the who, what, when, where, and why? Not every photo collection for every photo book theme will need all of them, but it can be a helpful exercise if you review your selected photos and something feels like it's missing from the story. It can also be a helpful tool in the future when you're capturing photos. Now that we've reviewed some practical suggestions for selecting your photos for a photo book, let's talk a bit more about how to avoid the overthinking. Set a time limit for yourself for the entire project or for each individual phase. It can be helpful to use the Pomodoro technique and work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. Sometimes when you stare at the screen for your selections too long, you start to doubt yourself. So a break could be exactly what you need. Remember, done is better than perfect. Once the photo book is printed and complete, most people will never notice the photos you didn't include. You yourself may not even remember what you excluded if you captured the highlights of the story. Think about social media, and when you see people include just a few of their best shots from their vacation, you can still get a sense of the fun they've had from only a handful of photos. When you find yourself stuck between 2 photos, just pick one and move on. By the time you have the photos laid out in the book, you can always swap one out if you really do change your mind. I doubt you will, though. The last tip is to start small. If you've got lots of photo albums you want to make, choose one with a succinct theme or a smaller collection of photos to start with. The more you practice with a bite-sized project, the easier it will get when you tackle something larger. If this helped you, make sure to subscribe for more simple, practical photo organizing tips. And if you want help actually getting your photo projects done, check out Photo Keepers Club by the Photo Managers. It's a supportive community where you can work on your photos alongside others and get guidance from the pros along the way. If you'd rather have someone help you with this, you can always work with a certified photo manager like me. There are even pros who have specialized in photo book design as our area of expertise. I hope you take these tips, get started on one photo book, and start enjoying your photos more in your everyday life. Your photo book doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. The most important thing is that you actually create it. And I bet that once you get that first one in your hands, you'll be hooked and ready to make a habit of creating meaningful photo books to help you relive your best memories.